Point solutions, they're out there, and often they do something very, very well. They might do it in a little bit of an isolated way, especially if they're a little older. You know, if you've got somebody who's had an SPC package since 1992, the odds are pretty good it's not going to communicate terribly well with modern production equipment. It may not even communicate terribly well with modern reporting tools, but if it's allowed somebody to instill a discipline around collecting data that helps them be comfortable that their process is stable and that they're turning out good quality, that capability needs to be preserved in some form. Now, whether you map that into a broader suite that delivers an equivalent capability as part of a total package, or whether you preserve a point solution possibly in a more modern version or form, that should always be driven by, is it necessary to make a change? Often what we find is that point solutions can be essentially left alone as long as they're modern enough to do their part and then feed into the flow of information that follows the flow of the products. So if I'm thinking about you know, sort of an MES capability and thinking about genealogy more broadly than just as what materials or parts went into a finished good, I might think carefully about the types of SPC work I would do on an in-process product that I would want to relate very specifically to a particular unit conducting a particular operation on a defined route, and having that be easily traceable in the context of all the other parts or materials that went into the product, in the context of that particular production order or production lot, in the context of the crew, etc., etc. A point solution typically, and I'm picking on quality just as an example, but generally point solutions don't always bring all the rest of that context. So you may want to preserve them, but you want to think about how you would integrate it into that overall picture. That might be just through reporting, it might be through data transfer, but I think fundamentally the story there is, they're out there. There tends to come a tipping point. If someone were to come to me and say, should I get best of breed for production dispatch, for inventory handling, for order status management, for finite scheduling, for quality operations management, and then just kind of tie them all together in some form or another, you know, whether through a loose interpretation of a UNS concept or through a more explicit, you know, write a bunch of data into, you know, middleware type structures and just kind of have spaghettiware. I would tend to say that if you're trying to cover lots of what's in that old MESA model through point solutions, you're probably setting yourself up to do more technology work than you might have to do if you looked at something as more of a suite where some of the pre-integration work and common modeling has been done for you by the vendor. But I would never say rip out all your point solutions and replace them with a new MES of some sort unless there were functional reasons about higher levels of value to be recovered or created that would dictate that decision.